What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another video. My name is Mark Groves. For those of you who don't know me, I am obsessed with understanding how humans relate, understanding how we connect to one another, but not only one another, ourselves. What is the limitation in why we don't pursue our dreams, or why do we hold back our opinions when we're actually right about stuff for fear of not belonging? Right? And how do we overcome these types of limitations? Now, I've especially been interested in our relationship to technology, and that comes from a personal place because I grew a brand on social media. I had well over 1.2 million followers on different platforms, and I had over 25 million downloads on my podcast. And I started to wonder, like, I never had a history of anxiety. Why do I feel anxious? Why do I feel overwhelmed and burnt out? And how does our biology relate to technology? Because it was an issue I was mostly having when I related to things like Instagram or TikTok. And so this had me dive a lot deeper into what was going on in my body. And a conversation that's been happening recently is this idea that the new class differentiator, so the new thing that differentiates poor people from wealthy people, will be a sunlight-based childhood for wealthy people versus a screen-light-based childhood. So if you look at all of the people, tech billionaires and the people who founded these social media companies, if you haven't watched The Social Dilemma, it gives a really good picture, great documentary. But what's shown is that these people don't send their own kids to high-tech schools. They send them to Montessori or Waldorf, where technology is maybe in a room, but it's not the focus of the actual education. And so there's something they know that they're acting upon on the technologies that they've created and facilitated the expansion of, that they're not telling us, but they are telling us through their choices. So for example, Steve Jobs didn't give his kids iPads, and Bill Gates didn't allow his kids to use smartphones till the age of 14. So there's something going on that we all feel and know, but we need to also act upon too. Now, I saw this recent video I wanted to share from a podcast, so let's check this out.
Screen time is now what's called an economically inferior good, which is that poor people consume more. If you go into a rich household, they're like trying to keep their kids away from screens as long as possible. But you know what they do? They hire folks to like have their kids in like activities, try and keep them busy so that they're not on screens. If you're in a poor family, they're like, here's your screen, just like, have at it.
So that's really fascinating, right? So if you're in a poor family, here's your screen. You need to be watching this because I've got to go do stuff. And who knows, maybe both parents have jobs, right? So there's no judgment in any of this. But what's really interesting is that in wealthy families, not only do they not go to schools like that, but the parents also have more awareness about the harms of technology. Now, books like The Anxious Generation from Jonathan Haidt have done a great job of giving more mainstream knowledge to the impacts of social media, especially for young people. And school systems are now not allowing social media to be, or smartphones to be used while school is on. That's great. And of course, it started with private schools first, and then it trickles down. So what can happen with this is that we can go, oh, well, yeah, that's classic privilege and wealth and the way that the systems work. Sure. You could be right about all that. But at the end of the day, we're the ones who have to change how we relate to technology. We're the ones who have to say, you know what, I want a different relationship to my phone. And if you're from a lower socioeconomic status, it's like, I want something different for my kids too. Now, if you want it different for your kids, you got to do it differently for yourself. And look, like, there's no judgment on how people use technology. It's just understanding that there are trade-offs and there are harms, right, that can happen. And there are harms that can happen from many things. So these are the negotiations we're always making as parents. Okay, but this is interesting what he says here, which is our relationship with our phone is now one of the most important.
Relationship with our phone now is one of the most important relationships for our well-being or mental health.
It's one of the most important determinants of our well-being and mental health. And there's a really fascinating study looking at the mental health outcomes by age when kids are given access to social media and smartphones. And the short answer is it's not good. The younger you give it to them, the worse it is. The more use kids have of phones, the worse their adult mental health outcomes are. None of this is a surprise. And what I find a lot of people is they experience shame when they understand that. And I especially feel bad for young people who were given phones before anyone knew the detrimental impact they would have, And so regardless of how we get where we are right now watching this video, we have to be the ones who make changes. And this is a fascinating thing that they finish off with.
It's a weird addiction. Like it's like being your own pharmacist. Like you just keep giving yourself the dopamine. Every time I click on Facebook, every time I click on that little red thing, I got a message, and it's really sickening.
We're getting gouged for an all-you-can-eat buffet that we don't really want anymore. And the more we eat, the worse we feel about ourselves. It's a bummer.
It is a bummer, isn't it? And like the way that we're feeling is so obvious, and we have to make the changes to feel different. You know, the truth about being a human is that wherever there is an addiction, there is something that we don't want to feel. So you think about it, addictions, things that we're addicted to, change our state, which means we don't like the state we're in. So when you remove an addiction, when you remove drugs, when you remove alcohol, when you remove the short form dopamine that we're getting from these devices, you end up having to sit with yourself, and what you have to sit with is what needs to be dealt with, right? So it is important that you begin to apply different tools to be able to change your relationship to technology right away. An immediate thing that you can apply to your life right now is you can just delay your phone use for the first 30 minutes of the day. Just do not use your phone for the first 30 minutes of the day. Also, don't bring your phone into the bedroom and into the bathroom. Those are both habits that we just happen to have, right? And when you start to break them, you start to break your brain association with things. So if you delay your phone use for the first 30 minutes and you also don't use it for the last hour of your day, which I got to say, when I was implementing that one's a lot tougher to implement. That was more of a challenge for me. But once you get used to it, you start to resensitize your body to the experience of being bored. Now, the last thing that I've done recently that has made a massive difference is I started to read literal books again. I used to just listen to audiobooks, and I would crush them, podcasts, audiobooks. But now I actually have been reading a book again. Reading a book has completely changed my ability to be present, and I've enjoyed the book. I've almost finished my first book. I have 20 pages left. I'd love to hear in the comments, which one are you going to apply right away? And I can't wait to hear how it impacts you and impacts your kids, etc., everybody in your life. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and share. Much love.